Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address, episode 241, titled, Is Gibson the Answer? A little bit of a short State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano, editor-in-chief of Pucks and Pitchforks. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. What's up, Nick?
You know what, Sam? I feel about as bad as that rebound that VTech just gave up to allow the first goal.
We're not supposed to talk about the game. We can't do that when we're live.
Well, I'm recapping something that happened in the game. I'm allowed to do that.
I know. I'm just
20 minutes ago.
I'm just BSing you.
And this is why we're talking about John Gibson, because I've relented against this for a long time. Because I've always been kind of against getting Gibson because I don't know, like, he's been bad for like 3 years. But a lot of people blame him being bad on being on this dog doo-doo Ducks team for so long. But at this point, Sam, you got to do something. And the risk with Gibson is not nearly as bad as the risk that you had with Hellebuck. I don't think Gibson's as good as Hellebuck, so you kind of have to like play that against each other. But Vitek Vanacek is terrible. And excuse me, I don't how in tarnation did you go to him again this game? How? What is Lindy Ruff seeing that he went to him this game?
No idea. I don't know what Lindy's thought process is. I believe Schmid played the last game, correct, against the Oilers. So maybe it was on the schedule. Maybe that's what Lindy does. He has a pre-planned schedule a few weeks out.
You can't coach like that, though.
Oh, I know. I'm just you're asking me. You're asking a question of why is Vanacek in net. I'm just making up a scenario why.
I would rather you put the goalie equipment back on and go in net. Like VTech is like he's giving just softball rebounds. Like that shot was like going 30 miles an hour, and he couldn't catch it from the blue line.
I didn't see it.
So basically, what happened is the shot was from the blue line. It hit him in the glove. And he just dropped it like he was a Kansas City Chiefs receiver, and it fell in front of Morgan Geekie, who was standing in front of the goal. And Geekie was able to make a move around Colin Miller and score. And honestly, it was a kamikaze of everything that's going on with this Devil season. You know, the Luke Hughes and Colin Miller got destroyed along the boards 3 different times, and then Colin Miller just got dog walked by Morgan Geekie in front of the goalie. The Mercer line, Mercer, Holtz, and Meyer, Meyer just didn't seem to be a part of the play. And I know there's a lot of hate on Meyer. And I don't even want to jump on it because I think it's so over the top. But he hasn't even been bad. He just hasn't been visible. And I'm not saying he's invisible. I'm just saying his impacts have been minimal. But his negatives have been pretty invisible too. He just hasn't been an impact, and you expect more for close to $9 million a year. But Holtz and Mercer, they just didn't impact the play where you wanted them. Nobody could get the puck out of the zone, and a lower line on the Bruins. I don't know if it's the fourth line or the third line, whatever line Geekie and Van Riemsdyk is. I guess it's the third line. Scored for the Bruins, so you're not even getting that David Pasternak. You expect him to score a goal against you, but. To have Morgan Geekie score that first goal, and it's on VTech, 100%. You got to stop that puck when it hits you in the glove. It hits you in the glove. You gotta stop it, and it's just like you're watching the same game over and over and over and over and over and over again. Where VTech Vanacek cannot control rebounds. He cannot do it. And it's losing you games over and over and over again. And I'm not talking about jobs. I don't call for people's jobs. That's not something I do. I do not say when somebody should or shouldn't get fired because that's not, that's above me. But I know when something's going to cost somebody their jobs. And we've seen it time and time again where a coach is too committed to a goalie who's not good, and they lose their job. And I don't want to see that happen to Lindy Ruff because I think Lindy Ruff brings a lot more to the table. But you're riding a goalie who's not good. And, maybe it is on Tom Fitzgerald because Tom Fitzgerald didn't pull the trigger on Hellebuck. And maybe he could have gotten Thatcher Demko, who's on a much better contract than is younger. Maybe he could have gotten Gibson in the offseason. Maybe, there's other options in the offseason. I don't know, Sam. And here's the good news, is that the Metropolitan Division has just been freaking weird. Like, odd. With the Flyers playing as well as they are, with the Capitals playing as well as they are. But the Capitals even, they lost 6-0 to the Coyotes. So they've shown some serious cracks in that armor, and Ovechkin hasn't been good under Carberry, and Oshie hasn't been good, and Kuznetsov is a healthy scratch. So there's some issues there that you would assume would eventually cost the Capitals some games, and the Flyers I still don't think are that good. They're winning on very strange metrics, and I don't understand how they're doing it. They're doing it with defense, I guess, is the main thing, but eventually that I don't know. I think that Tortorella's doing a great job there. All props to him because I didn't think he had a good system. And I said that. But his system is working this year. So all props to him. I think there's an opportunity. The Hurricanes are terrible. I know they won, right? They won recently, but they went 0-4 on their Western Canada road trip or whatever, the Western Conference road trip. The Rangers just got outside of a blitzkrieg in the second period. The Rangers looked terrible against the Maple Leafs, and Igor Shesterkin is kind of leaky, right? They're being held up by a very strange season from Jonathan Quick that you can't assume is going to stay this way.
Yeah.
This division is just, the Islanders are playing incredibly well, but we were talking about firing their coach 3 weeks ago. I literally have something in my my list of articles that I want to write. It was talking about what if Lou gets fired? What if this is the end of Lou? And that's going to wait till the offseason.
Do you think Bissonnette will have anything to do with it?
I don't know. Whatever.
Just kidding
I have
around.
no interest. So this division is keeping the Devils in it, no matter how bad they play. But eventually, you got to look like Fitzgerald is looking in the mirror, and Ruff has to look in the mirror, and they have to look at each other and say, "What do we want out of this season? Do you truly think you're a Stanley Cup contender? Because you still got your first-round pick if you don't make the Eastern Conference Final." So, if you want to, it is. This is where we are, Sam. We're at gut check time. If you're if you're going to look at the season we'll take what we can get, and if we don't get what we want, then we'll take the draft pick. Okay, you only get so many shots at these. You only get so many healthy Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier seasons. You only get so many of these. You only get so many of these seasons where you are a true contender. And so many teams could tell you it could disappear in an instant. And the Devils still have a very good team. Issues aside, goaltending. If you fix the goaltending, this is a good team. Maybe a great team. If you and not Sam, you don't even need to fix it with Hellebuck or Sorokin or Shesterkin or what are the top guys. You need to fix it with a top 15 goalie. And right now you got Schmid, who, at some point was over 900 save percentage. I don't know if he went back down after that Edmonton game, but, he's hovering around that number. And then you got Vanacek, who is just not good. There's no signs that he's any good. Any good. I would do something crazy like trade him for Blackwood. I don't actually want to do that, but I would rather they have traded Blackwood or Vanacek at this point to the Sharks for a 6th-round pick and just rode Blackwood. I don't think that was going to happen either way because they weren't going to pay him the money they was going to get. But Vanacek is broken. Here's what you're. If I'm Tom Fitzgerald, I sit Lindy Ruff down. This is if I'm not trading for a goalie. If I'm not going to trade for Gibson, if I'm not going to trade for Velshmanka, or I think I said his name wrong, but the guy from Arizona, if you're not going to make these trades, which, by the way, big plug for pucksandpitchforks.com, we're going to have multiple John Gibson articles up on the site tonight and tomorrow, and I believe we're going to have a Velshmanka article up tomorrow as well. But if you're not going to make a trade for one of these guys, you have to sit Lindy Ruff down. You just say, go with our best guy, which right now is Akira Schmid. Ride him for a couple of games. You don't have to play him on back-to-backs, but every other game, play him. And then as soon as Nico Dawes, Sam, I need you to have my back on this. I've been praising Nico Dawes as if he is fine after the surgery, he's the guy. I think he's the guy that could come in and save this if he's healthy. And but the problem is that there's such a big if after the surgery that he had. You just can't rely on that. But after Dawes returned from his injury this weekend and helped Utica go 3-0. He won one of the games and looked stupendous in it. So you tell Lindy Ruff, play Vitek on the other side of a back-to-back. The Devils have more back-to-backs than anybody this year, so he's gonna get enough games. And then I'm putting him on waivers. I'm putting him in the AHL. He needs to get his head right, and we will go with Dawes and Schmid. Until we figure something else out. You got to survive right now. And the Devils aren't because they keep playing Vanacek. You're not going to survive playing Vanacek. Not this often.
You must really hate Vitek Vanacek.
What have you seen that you like?
Well, Nick, I'm more of a big picture person. I see him eating up some time in the interim. I don't want to rush Nico Dawes after having that surgery. I would rather keep him in the AHL. I don't want to overwork Schmid as well. Yes, you are right. The Devils have a lot of back-to-back thanks to NHL scheduling, kind of reminiscent of 1994.
Those dang robots.
Yeah.
Even the robots hate the Devils.
Yeah. Actually, I thought it was a couple that makes the scheduling. I thought I saw an article, but I forgot. Maybe it's a wrong.
They moved
sport.
to AI.
Okay,
I know the NFL has moved to AI. I assumed that the NHL would move to AI just because that's so much easier.
I thought I saw an article, but I forgot which sport. So don't quote me on that. But yeah. So this is me talking here, Nick, that I don't disagree with your assessment. I disagree with the strategy here. In my mind, this whole time that Tom Fitzgerald has till trade deadline to kind of figure it out, because this is kind of an evaluation period. Because over the summer, there was talks about Hellebuck, all that, but we all agree that the price was too great to pay. And what other goaltenders out in the market can you really either trade for or sign as a free agent? So, in my opinion, you ride with what you have right now in Vanacek and Schmid. And, the whole thing with Gibson, I don't know. What do you give up for Gibson? I don't think he's the answer either. I think he's an expensive. It's going to be an expensive proposition. I don't think it's going to win you a Stanley Cup. I think what's going to win you a Stanley Cup is trying to get into the playoffs and hope for the best that Schmid plays out of his mind and take it from there. Do you think that the future is Nico Dawes down the line?
I've said that. I said that a couple times.
Okay, so why go after Gibson if Dawes is the future?
Because that hip injury is too scary.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm kind of on the fence. I was an adamant no for years on Gibson. An adamant no. I tend to take a long time to make decisions like this because to change my mind on these types of things, like going after the big goalie or trading for the big defenseman, things like that, because I came to my decision logically. But with how bad Vitek Vanacek is, I didn't think it was possible for him to be this bad. I thought, the playoffs are the playoffs, whatever. But the playoffs broke that man. He's broken. Like, he's so frantic. He has an inability to stop a rebound. He's kicked multiple rebounds straight to the other team. He's unaware of his surroundings. This is not the guy from last year. This is a completely different guy. It doesn't make any sense. So the Devils, the problem is that usually I would just say, you got to write it out. You got to play him through it. But we've done that for now 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months. No, about 2 months exactly. And I don't think he's going to fix it. I don't have confidence that he's going to fix it unless you do something. And I think you got to send a message. And you saw the Oilers do with Jack Campbell. And, the Oilers didn't have a great backup plan. And the Oilers have Stanley Cup aspirations, just like the Devils do. And, they have a young goalie in Stuart Skinner who was better than Schmid last year, but not in the playoffs. And, Skinner's also been bad, just like Schmidt's been bad. But they made a move. And the Devils did all this where they got Kallgren. They got Keith Kincaid. They did all this because they wanted depth at the position in case it didn't work. And it's not working, Sam. But the problem is, and we talked about this, or I talked about this on puckspitchforks.com 2 weeks ago, the depth is a problem. Because Keith Kincaid, I haven't looked at his stats since I wrote the article 2 weeks ago, but as of that point, he's been in and out of the lineup with injuries, and he's been bad. Now, that Chicago Wolves team is not good, but he's been bad. Kallgren's been terrible. The good goalie down in Utica is Poultier, and he's on an AHL contract, so he can't go to the NHL unless the Devils sign him, and then that's another contract that they signed that will hurt them in future trades. Mm-hmm. The Devils are in a bad position. They are in a bad position, and the issue with where they are is the only fixed hindsight. Do you wish they traded for a goalie? You need more facts to say yes. I don't want that Hellbuck contract, at all. If it doesn't work this year or next year, that could ruin your dynasty or ruin, any chance to ever win any cups. It's hard to win a cup. Look at Colorado. Colorado was won with, the best team over the past 5 years. What Tampa did is an outlier. You don't see it a lot. Even, think about how good those Devils teams are. With Martin Brodeur, the best goalie of all time. Scott Niedermayer, the best offensive defenseman of all time. Scott Stevens, one of the best overall defensemen of all time. Just a stacked roster with greatness up and down. And it took them a couple years in between Stanley Cups, right? 95, mm-hmm. And then they'd wait 5 years, 2000, and then they'd wait 3 years, 2003, and then never again. This is hard. And that was pre-salary cap. This is hard to do. You have to make really hard decisions. But when I look at the decision that Lady Ruff made tonight to start Vitek Vanacek, that was not a hard decision. And he still made the wrong decision. You start Schmid, and then you start Schmid and Vanacek on the back-to-back later this week. But he didn't do it, and now the Devils are losing. I haven't looked at the score. I don't know where they are, but I assume they're still losing.
We're talking about 1-0 here.
Sam, I haven't watched their game, obviously. I've been here on the podcast. I watched the first period. I saw the rebound that Vitek gave up, and he's the reason why they got the one.
So far, I've seen 5 great saves from Vitek already.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. If it's one bad game, you know me, I'm not that reactionary, Sam. But this is a season's worth of terrible play.
Yeah,
the Devils' offense does need to.
But what do you have to give up for Gibson? What's the salary cap implications if John Gibson?
I think it's $6
million.
think so.
Is he a game changing type goaltender? Will he change the Devils
Oh, he's absolutely going to change the Devils
into elite team? And for how long?
So I'm going to go theoretically, and I'm going to go logically. Theoretically, he can make the Devils a Stanley Cup contender for 4 years. Logically, it takes him a year to kind of get the Ducks stink off of him. Then you'll have 2 years of truly elite play. Hopefully, you have 2 years of truly elite play. And then the last year, he kind of falls off a little bit. But what's that worth? What's that worth to this team? Because I think I went through his contract. I think he has 4 years left after this, or is it 3 years?
So his contract is half as bad as Hellebuck's.
Yeah. I really like Hellebuck. You're in trouble because you're paying him for the
It's
entire
more
contract.
manageable. It's more manageable. Let's just put it that way.
So you have 2 issues here because I can't remember if his contract is 3 years or 4 years. If his contract is 3 years, you're probably ending an elite season, and then you might be pigeonholed to sign him. That's not what you want to do. If it's 4 seasons, I think that's a better sample size. He'll be a little bit older, and I think you can, if you do bring him back, get him on a cheaper deal. Because we have seen some goalies survive into their late 30s, like Semyon Varlamov, and apparently Jonathan Quick is good again. Marc-Andre Fleury won a Vezina like 38. It's happened, and it's usually the truly elite guys.
Bobrovsky.
Yeah, but what is he? I think he's only 31 or 32. I don't think he's there yet. He's had a 7-year deal, so he's signed long term. Here's where I'm at, and I know we can't stay on too much longer because we're on a schedule with the game on, but I'm still on the fence, Sam. I know that's not what people want to hear. People want to hear me be a little bit more direct, but I don't know what you do. My best guess is they're going to wait through Christmas. They're not going to trade anybody right now. They're going to let this play out through the new year. But if it's this bad, and it hasn't even been that bad, right? They did well in the Western Conference road trip. But if you lose 2 in a row again, you start to fall down the standings again, and you continue to, if you finish December like 500, I think you see a move early January. I don't know for who, because a lot can change in 2 weeks. But Gibson's the guy. If it's not Gibson, then Vizmelka. But Vizmelka's been bad. Let me ask you about one other name. Contract also scary, probably more scary than Gibson's. But Jacob Markstrom in Calgary.
How long is he out for?
I would expect him back in probably within the month. Maybe sooner. I haven't looked, but based on what I saw from the early reports from the injury, I would expect him back within the month.
Mm-hmm. Markstrom would have come in the package from Calgary.
Do you want Tanev or Hannafin? I'm assuming it's the defenseman you're looking for.
Yeah. I think it goes hand in hand. The Devils' goals against, is not very good, although it's starting to improve since the Western swing.
Yeah. Nemitz has helped. Nemitz has been good. I have nothing but good things to say about Simon Nemitz.
Yeah.
Hughes has been good, but he's not been good tonight. From what I saw, he wasn't good in the first period. I don't know if he's been good in the second period. I assume with only 1 goal against, the defense is playing better.
Well, the Devils, they have you're judging the first period. They're not good in the first period.
That's weird, though. Lindy Ruff, there's some things that he just needs to figure it out. Why are you bad in the first period? 20 times 20 times the other team scored first than you. 20. 20, Sam. We're 27 games in the season. 20 times the Devils have been losing to start the game.
Maybe they're too loose in the locker room, and then, they come out and they're not firing on all cylinders.
And whose job is to fix that?
Well, obviously it's the coach and the leaders of the team.
Yeah, it is partially Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes and Timo Meier and, Dougie Hamilton not being there probably doesn't hurt, but Andre Palat, that's why you brought Palat here. It's the goalie. Like, sometimes, Sam, the easiest route to the answer is the answer. The goalie's bad and the team is bad, and it's a tale as old as time.
Well, giving up lazy goals, easy saves, what should be easy saves is one thing, but I mean, honestly, I think the defense have improved in the last 3 or 4 games. And
I really don't have I don't have any complaints with it.
Yeah. I mean, against Edmonton, realize you can't just use the final score. There's a lot of empty net goals, all that crap. I look at, in those game situations, but, so far, I don't know. I mean, I was too busy doing cameos during the first period, but from what I've seen so far, they look pretty good defensively. I'm looking how they're checking down. I mean, if you want my biggest complaint before, I think Kevin Ball's out of position a lot, which has hurt John Marino. John Marino is just kind of like taking 2 guys out at once, and then he's got caught out of position.
Yeah, they're both out of position a lot. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because Ball's out of position and Marino's trying to.
Yeah, there was when the Akira Schmid, flub with the puck handling, both Ball, Schmid, and Marino were all in the behind the goal line in that play where I forgot who scored. It was McDavid that scored. It was like the easiest goal. It was just like tapping it in. It was basically like a putt. So. But it is starting to improve. I just don't think – I think right now, if the rumors are true about Gibson, Tom Fitzgerald is just – he's kicking the tires right now. To me, that's all he's doing right now. He's not making a move right now, but he's thinking far ahead. The what-ifs. He's probably got a flow chart, a timeline of what-ifs before that trade deadline when he's going to pull the trigger. If he needs to pull the trigger.
But you're going to be a seller if you keep going this way. If you wait till the trade deadline to pull the trigger to make a move on this team, unless by hook or by crook, my goalie plan works. There's no world that I can see where Vitek Vanacek figures it out on his own. I just can't see it.
Well, I don't think Vitek Vanacek is the number one guy. The number one guy, and I've said this a while, it's Schmid. It's just, can Vitek play that backup role when Schmid is taking a night off? Because right now
they're not playing it like that. Because if that was the case, Schmid would be in net right now.
True. But it is a long season. You want Schmid not burnt out like how Vitek was by playoff time last season. 17 back-to-backs. That's a lot. That's a lot of games. Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, part of the reason why back in 94, and I'll gripe about it, hence the Rangers suck sign behind me, the Devils had 17 or 18 back-to-back games, and the Rangers only had 8. Did you know that? It was insane. That's why.
Was that no? The next year is shortened. No, sorry, never mind.
Yeah. So it was like 17. The Devils had 17 back-to-back games, and the Rangers only had 8. You could go look on the schedule, the 93-94 NHL schedule. It was BS. Everybody knew it was BS because the Devils actually had one of the greatest teams of all time in franchise history may have been the best team in franchise history at that point back in '94. They had a heck of a start to the season, but what did them in? These back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how it affects the Devils at the end of the season. Right now, they kind of look sluggish. Because here's the other problem, Sam, is they go back to back and they don't play for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. They play back to back. They don't play for 4, 5, 6 days. Back to back, 3 out of 4 days. Don't play for 5 days. Like, there is no consistency in the routine. It's different every single week, and the schedule makers didn't do them a favor. But Sam, they can't change that. What they can change is what they do on the ice and who's there.
Nick, you need to be a little patient.
Again, the Metropolitan Division being terrible is helping. And I say terrible, I based on expectations.
Do you think there's going to be a major market correction with the Flyers and Capitals? I mean, we all had them pinned down in the basement, along with the Blue Jackets.
I want to say yes, but my gut tells me that one of them is going to stick around.
Yeah.
And the Islanders, I just don't know. It's hard to pin down what the Islanders are going to be. The Devils look really good against the Islanders. I don't know why everybody else looks so bad against them. They're good. Horvat's been great this year. Barzal's looked good. Sorokin is obviously one of, if not the best goalie in the league. But, so I kind of have I honestly, I think any of those, and I don't think the Rangers are safe because they've been playing so bad lately. I don't think that their stranglehold on this top spot is, I don't know. They haven't been playing well. Igor Shesterkin hasn't been playing well as of late. So I do think any of the 7 teams can make the playoffs, excluding the Blue Jackets, and any of the 7 teams can miss the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It's going to come to, I think that this race is going to be so close. I think the leader of the Metro could have 105 points. You win the Metro that just because these teams are so close and they're going to play each other and they're going to farm points from each other. And a lot of these games between 2 Metro teams aren't going to overtime. So there's not a lot of loser points. If you just look down the side, there's not a ton. Some teams have. I think the Islanders have a lot of overtime games. But
yeah,
outside of them, there's not a ton. The Devils only have what? Do they have 1 overtime loss?
I think so. I have to look.
So, the loser points aren't coming in droves like they are for other divisions. I think that this Metro is going to come down to the wire. And if you want, you got it. And maybe that's going to give Fitzgerald enough time to wait until the trade deadline. Maybe it will. But I don't think it's going to be with Vitek Vanacek. I think you got to put him on waivers. You got to send him down to the AHL. Get right. Because guess what, Sam? If Vitek goes down there for 3 games, gets out his head of his you-know-what, plays against lesser competition to kind of figure out where those mistakes are happening. Because from what I remember, Jack Campbell had a couple good games in the AHL after looking terrible for the first couple of starts. I think against the lesser competition, you could really evaluate your game and make adjustments that will work. So I don't know where Campbell is last week. I know he had a bad game last week, but he was pretty good before that. I think there's hope there if you do that, but I don't know if the Devils have the cojones to do that move. I get it on one hand because Dawes would be the guy. He's coming off hip surgery and he's played 1 game. So, that's a lot. It's assuming a lot, and it's a lot to ask from a guy. Even if he gets shutouts the next 2 games, expecting him to just keep playing like that at the NHL level after hip surgery is hard, especially with this defense. And Kincaid is not. I think Kincaid would be the next guy up because Calgren's been so bad. You hope that maybe Kincaid's numbers are vis-a-vis playing for a terrible Chicago Wolves team, which I guess has issues with the coach now. I didn't see exactly what happened there, but I guess there's some controversy in Chicago. I don't know what the answer is, Sam, but I know the answer isn't just keep Vitek at the starter and pray that it works.
I think it's working. You'll see
working.
You'll see the highlights of the second period after this podcast.
Oh, okay, that's cheating.
He has his podcast in his helmet ear. He's getting mad at VTech because he made probably one of the saves of the year.
Oh, but they're still losing.
It's just 1-0.
The answer to that is yes.
It's just 1-0 against the Boston Bruins, no less.
Well, that's what I got, Sam.
All right. Well, anything good coming up on Pucks and Pitchforks aside from the Gibson articles that are coming up?
Yeah. So right now, I wrote a piece on some defensemen I think the Devils should avoid in the trade market. Of course, we have the brand new pucksandpitchforks.com, brand new look, brand new style. Jersey Joe wrote a story on why the Devils should target Ilya Lyubushkin. Vinny Parisi wrote a story about comparing the Devils' contracts to this ridiculous Shohei Ohtani contract and which Devils players are making more than $2 million a year. A certain bought-out goaltender is making the same amount on the salary cap as Shohei Ohtani will make in cash from the Dodgers this year. I talked about Luke Hughes and why Dougie Hamilton's injury will be a good narrative for him as he chases the Calder Trophy. Jonathan Bailey talked about a Noah Hannafin trade. Marcy Rubin talked about the Nico Dawes return and why that's a good thing for the Devils. Trey Matthews talked about just how the Devils finished that Western Conference road trip. And yeah, I think and then Jersey Joe talked about Simone Nemetz. So that's all we got so far. But yeah, again, pucksandpitchforks.com, we're gonna have a bunch of new articles up tonight and tomorrow, and basically until the end of time.
Yeah. Well, just before we go, I just got to comment on that Ohtani contract. Even though the CBA allows it, or the Major League Baseball rules allow that kind of deferment, it's still, in my mind, it's still, I don't know, circumvention, cheating. Because if you're allowed to do that, how are the smaller market teams allowed to get that tax revenue for the luxury tax if you're deferring it? How does that work?
I don't understand baseball's luxury tax situation. It doesn't make sense. But can we just get one sport to have a salary cap that's not full of BS deferments and just skirting around the salary cap? Just if you pay him $1, it's $1 against the salary cap. Why are we doing this? Why are we do you know what I think it is, Sam?
What's that?
I think it's owners want to feel smart. So and GMs want to feel smart. These rich people want to feel smart. So they only vote on these CBAs with these inane salary situations that the general public can't understand, but only they can. So they can feel pretty and smart, and then they can skirt the salary cap so they can keep, finding ways around the rules.
The purpose of the salary cap years ago, I believe it was the NBA that first started the salary cap, was to make sure that the teams were solvent. So, and the NFL, their finances are incredible. Reason why is because these contracts are not guaranteed, and, as long as you pay cash up front, you don't have to worry if the team has the cash. You don't have to worry about the team going under. So that was the whole point of that. And now it's just gotten so convoluted and all that kind of stuff. But hey, if I was the commissioner of the NHL, I would do a kind of a hybrid of everybody. It'd be a hard cap, but you get 2 freebies, and they're called franchise freebies, where you can pay them whatever that you want as long as the cash is there.
I mean, that's kind of like what the MLS does.
Yeah.
I
don't know how they do theirs.
I think they have like I can't remember what it's called, but I think you could pay like Messi is not going up against the cap for Miami.
Yeah.
And you can have one more star player that you pay like a European style contract, and then the rest of the team makes like, I don't know, splits like $800,000.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's probably not that low. I probably made that up, but it's not a lot.
But the luxury tax and all that and the revenue going to small market teams, that was made because of what the Yankees were doing in the late 90s and just absolutely just destroying, when they got that TV company, and they were their own network, which was innovative in its time period, which was a big risk by George Steinbrenner, Lou Lamoriello. I think Jeff Vanderbeek was involved, wasn't he? And Ray Chambers and that whole group.
That was involved, I remember. The fact that they're not on the S Network is asinine, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, because Uncle Lou pissed off Steinbrenner. I think that's what happened. Anyway, going to drop the podcast at midnight, and I'll be back for Devils After Dark after the game. But thank you, Nick. This was a great talk about goaltending. What do you think? Let us know. Find us on Twitter at Let's Go Devils Pod or at Pitchfork Puck. Till next time, let's go Devils.